I'm joined by Xenia Dormandy. She's a senior fellow at the London-based research institute Chatham House. She specializes in the international role of the US as well. Good to see you, Xenia. Thank you so much for coming in. So, I mean, everybody understands, both sides understand that the US is in a bit of a fiscal mess, and that if they don't raise the debt ceiling, that we could be heading for collapse, not just with implications for the US, but for markets, financial markets beyond the US.
Absolutely.
And yet there's still no agreement.
Well, you have to think, it's not two parties negotiating at the moment. There are really three parties negotiating. You have the Democrats that we know, you have the Republicans that we're used to, and then you have the Tea Partiers, who are really pulling the discussions to the right and don't appear to be playing the same game everybody else is. They don't appear to be stepping up and compromising. And what we know about all relationships is there has to be, and President Obama said this over the weekend, there has to be compromise. You have to see both sides. And you have this party that is quite powerful in Washington today that isn't engaging in compromise, is saying this is what we want and we're not moving. So that's the problem.
What's it going to take to get them to engage? Because right now, we've got a week to go, and actually, if you think about the legislative process, whereby it takes time as well, and Boehner saying himself, this needs to happen. We need to get an agreement in 2 days from now, on July 27th, if we're going to meet that deadline.
Indeed.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, the answer is, I think it will happen, but what's going to happen is this group who don't want to compromise won't. And you'll get an agreement that doesn't include them, and you'll see a split for the purposes of this discussion and for the purposes of this agreement in the Republican Party. And you'll have some Republicans that will move forward and that will come up with some kind of agreement to get over the August 2nd deadline. You'll have the Democrats, most of them come together, and you'll have the kind of hard Tea Partiers not just say no.
Yeah, sticking to their position.
Absolutely.
So then, going forward, the sort of longer-term implications of governance and policy making, do you expect to see deeper divisions within the Republican Party as a result of this compared to the Democrats?
It's very unclear how this is going to play out. We're coming into an election season. We know who the Democratic candidate is. It's clearly going to be President Obama. And in that sense, everybody is behind the president. The Republicans are still fighting that one out, and you've got quite a number of candidates, credible candidates. And so, yes, you are going to see a lot more division on the Republican side than you are going to see on the Democrat, not just here, but on future issues as well. What we don't know, and is very unclear, and I think is probably unlikely, is that you're going to see a permanent, large split within the Republican Party. I think that is unlikely, but you will on this issue.
And how difficult is it going to be for President Barack Obama to resist, to sort of maintain his resolve in terms of his opposition to a short-term deal that doesn't take us beyond next year's presidential election?
There really is either a short-term deal as the Republican wants, or this mega deal that the Democrats want. Right now, we are truly down to the wire. And they will come up, I believe they will find a deal in time. What that deal looks like, we just don't know today. There may be a short-term component, but with long-term consequences, and so it will probably be, as I say, some kind of compromise.
And can I just quickly get one final thought on you, the long-term implications for the sort of political system in the US? Because obviously, these checks and balances are in place to make sure that, but I'm just wondering, would you go as far as to categorize this as a sort of collapse in for it to be extremely dysfunctional? Is this a crisis of governance, essentially?
I don't think so. I mean, this has happened before. There are splits, there are difference of agreements, there are ideological differences on both sides. We are perhaps at the bottom of the curve of this oscillation that you'll see in politics, you'll see in economics. We're perhaps close to the bottom, and so you're not seeing the two sides work together. But my guess is that over time, we'll find issues like this one where we have to work together, we have to find compromises, and hopefully that will bring us back on track. I don't think you're going to see a major disjunction in the political system.
Okay, well, really interesting to get your thoughts on that. Thank you so much. Xenia Dormandy of Research Institute, London-based Research Institute, Chatham House.